you should be seeing. There you go.
Perfect. I would like to call the Newton Planning Board public meeting to order at 7 p.m. on May 24th, 2022. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first thing on the agenda tonight is a continuation, or I would like to call the hearing to order at 7:05 p.m. The first thing on the agenda today is a continuation of 125 Development, New Hampshire Corporation of Plaistow, New Hampshire, requested for a public hearing for a four-building condominium site plan off South Main Street in Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as Tax Map 14, Block 1, Lot 27-3. So as everybody here knows that this has been continued. I believe this is the second continuation for this meeting, or for this agenda item. And we had a couple requests for additional information. We've also received feedback from legal counsel on the use of the use of the right-of-way on the western side of Howard Lane for the connection of Howard Lane to a roadway on this parcel. Jim, has that discussion been sent out to everybody on the board, or are there recommendations from the council?
I do not get it.
Okay, so not everybody on the board has seen that
I
recommendation.
emailed it to everybody.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
When? I have my email up right now.
I want to say about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I can summarize it if people have not seen it. Let me just find the email quickly. So generally, what the council's opinion was from their research is that and I'll try to cover this fairly quickly. If somebody wants more details, let me know. That right-of-way was generally decided back in 1986. And it was decided via the Board of Selectmen. They researched the minutes, which I have a copy of. And the plan of the minutes required that the right-of-way at the end of Howard Lane was to be used to create a through roadway connecting to another existing town street. They go on and summarize that there's no discussion in the minutes of private or public. However, the use of town street signifies that the roadway is a roadway that can be used by the public. A private road would not meet those requirements. So that was their discussion on the use of the right-of-way on the existing right-of-way on Howard Lane for connection to the proposed Puzzle Lane Road. Is that what we're calling it? Puzzle Lane extension at this point in time? So I wanted to discuss.
The selectmen are meeting on June 21st, and they have asked that the planning board be at least represented, if not in attendance, to give input, and they will be at that meeting they will be making a decision on the use of that right of way.
Okay.
And Mr. Marchand may know more.
And because of that, I would suggest, and we can get Jen's input on this, if we could just continue this whole thing until that meeting to where we, as the selectmen and the planning board, sit down and can discuss this together. I think that that would be imperative. And then at that point, we would be able to have it all out on the table and discuss it, and then be able to come to a resolution whether to grant this or not. So I'm going to make a motion that we continue this until June 21st at the Selectmen/Planning Board joint meeting.
Jen, can you provide some feedback on the time frame
Do
for
you want a
that?
second first, or
June 21st, which is a
Thursday night.
Thursday.
She's
Third
asking if you want a
Tuesday of
second
next
on the
month.
motion.
Excuse me?
It's a Tuesday, June 21st? Pretty sure it's a Tuesday, because I won't be able to make it.
I think he
I'll
was
second it for
Okay.
purposes of discussion.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday. I'm on a flight that night, so I can't make it.
Jen, it's on discussion.
Okay. So, I believe, and Jim, please correct me, that may be very close to the 65-day mark since you took jurisdiction. And if that's the case, if the applicant's in agreement, if we're going to be beyond the 65-day and the applicant's in agreement, you can extend that. I do think that the determination about the use of Howard Lane is very important to this development, and also the waiver request for the extension of the long cul-de-sac, because it's got that waiver request as part of it. I think it's important information. Do I think it will decide the entire fate of this application? Either way, that's up to you guys, but I think it is very vital information for you to know.
I have a really hard time hearing what she's saying on that thing. Will somebody kind of recap it?
Sure, I'll try to recap that. Jen's opinion is that although it's an important issue, it's not the ultimate deciding factor for the entire application. It'll affect the waiver request for the roadway length, and that's about it, correct?
It may for the overall development, but it at least will have impact on the waiver request.
So it may have some minor impacts to the overall development, but specific to the waiver request is what we're concerned about. And then on the same topic, specific to this waiver request, the fire department, or the fire chief did provide some feedback. I'm not sure if everybody saw that, so.
Oh, I didn't see it.
You did not? So I'll just read the chief's letter. It's good afternoon. I do not see a problem with the length of the cul-de-sac for Industrial Way since it's a planning board requirement. I've been told that once Puzzle Lane extension is completed, there'll be 2 entrances to the industrial park from Route 108 through existing Puzzle Lane entrance and the new proposed Industrial Way. I have also been told that when the Sergeant Woods development was being built, it also had only one way in and one way out for emergency vehicles. There are many streets in the town that have one access point. Puzzle Lane, for example, only has one access from 108. So that was the opinion from the fire chief.
What do you guys want to use Howard Lane for?
My name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones and Beach Engineers for the applicant. The only purpose of the Howard Lane connection was for emergency only. It was it's proposed as a gated crash gate in case there's ever an issue on industrial where you can't access through the industrial, you would have a second access off of Howard Lane. Never for any trucks, any traffic, only emergency vehicles.
So, but with Puzzle Lane, right now, if something happens on Puzzle Lane, there's still only one entrance.
There is only one entrance.
So what's the difference?
Well, because your regulations indicate we have to go 1,000 feet maximum for cul-de-sac length. The whole point behind that is for just that issue. If there is an accident at the entrance or at the intersection of 108 and say Puzzle Lane right now, how do you get to somebody that's having a heart attack at the back of Puzzle Lane?
Okay. So what you're saying is throughout this whole thing, you guys aren't going to use it. Throughout the whole construction thing, it is not going to be used, and when it's done or whatever happens, you're going to have a gate up no matter what, a crash gate, right? That only emergency vehicles can use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
problem, though, in my view, is, and I've watched the Board of Selectmen meeting and heard from a few of the residents of that neighborhood, is there's still the possibility that there's still a disturbance, and it's being used in a way that when they all bought those properties, they were not aware that that was a use that could ultimately happen. And so I want to hear out the residents of that neighborhood too, because they've bought on what they thought was a dead-end road, and now all of a sudden could be transformed into something else.
Well, didn't they just say 1986 was this right away?
Yeah, but there's nothing in any of the records that when they were buying their houses that would have indicated that.
It was given to the town of Newton as a right-of-way to be used to connect to a new town road, not a commercial property and road.
Right.
If you read it. And also it states in there that that island that's sitting there is put there for drainage. That's also a little caveat that was in there in the print, that
I don't
they were
think they
worried
planned
about
on
drainage, so
touching
that's
that,
why
right?
they put that island there.
So
So again, I put a motion on the table, and I respectfully request that we can wait until the June 21st meeting of both the selectmen and the planning board, because I implore you that it's imperative that we wait till then.
So have we determined whether we need to extend in terms of the amount of days that we opened this up? When did we give that from, like, when did we start this process? with the
April
project?
22nd.
April 22nd. And so how many days will it be for the June 21st?
If I may, we could just grant you the extension to June 21st.
Okay.
The applicant, we're more than willing to do that.
Okay.
and
But we run out of the 65 days, so we also have to look at
And the
that.
applicant can agree to extending that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, that's correct, what Barry is saying.
And if the Board of Selectmen and Planning Board, well, I'm going to rephrase my question, sorry. If the Planning Board agrees to a waiver for the roadway exceeding 1,000 feet, would the request for using that right-of-way be rescinded?
Yeah, we threw it on the table as to meet that requirement. We're not, to the letter of the law, we wouldn't be meeting the requirement with the emergency access. So that's why we'd be requesting the waiver. But if the board and the town and the safety department, fire and police decide that that isn't necessary, I mean, that's just one thing, less thing we have to construct, honestly.
And
Mr. Chair?
yes, Barbara?
This is Barbara. I have a question.
Sure.
Are you proposing that this continuation of this hearing will be after, on this, at that same meeting that the planning board and the selectmen meet, and then after that will be this hearing?
So I would think we would have to have another planning board meeting to then vote on the discussion or decision that was made at the Board of Selectmen meeting,
Well,
unless we wanted a
okay,
special
well,
meeting.
Then I believe that you're going to have to change your date, because if the selectmen and the planning board are meeting on the 21st, you're going to have to make it after that for the applicant to come back.
The following week, which is the 28th. I think I understand your point, Barbara.
Okay, just trying to get it clear.
And
And,
I think we could extend at the 21st if necessary.
okay.
Okay, so, excuse me, I have a question. On the 65 days, I just want to make sure we go in the right order and that we do things. We have to make a motion to extend the 65 days? The applicant is willing to do it, but we also have to agree to it, don't we?
Not typically.
June
No?
21st
Okay.
is your
Okay.
62nd day.
I just want to make sure we don't miss something.
Right.
That's all.
Okay.
To Barbara's point, we need to extend to June 28th, which is the next planning board meeting.
Right, but you can't stop the clock, only the applicant can.
Okay, okay. Just wanted to clarify that, thank you.
Yep.
These roads are gonna connect eventually, right?
We are going,
You gotta tell me what phase it is, right?
right, it's phase 3 where the plans but yes, we're currently talking to you about phase 2. Phase 3, we're going to extend Puzzle Lane all the way to the existing Puzzle Lane.
Is there a Class 6 road or a dirt access road currently constructed out there?
There is a road that, well, I wouldn't call it a road. There's a way to meander through there if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle. From what I understand, the police will no longer go out there because it isn't passable.
Okay.
There's a motion on the table for the continuance.
Dennis,
Yes.
just one item. I would recommend you don't actually continue to the 21st. Continue it to the 28th, unless you guys are prepared to actually have a planning board meeting on the 21st jointly with the select board. I understand that they've requested you be there, but unless you're actually having a noticed planning board meeting, you should continue it to the 28th. And I know that's different from Mr. Moran's motion, but
Is that okay with you? To amend your-
28th would be the week after for the planning board.
I'm assuming that the applicant would want to, you guys would want, or the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board would want the applicant at the joint meeting so we could answer any questions as well.
So if you're
So-
willing to amend that to the 28th,
Well, yeah, his is the 28th.
your motion, I'm just saying, to,
To continue it to the
28th.
28th, yes.
okay, and I'll agree
Already
with
got
that as a seconder.
Yeah.
You ready, Jim? Sorry.
Yeah.
Aye.
Oh, Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Lavoy?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Aye.
Mr. Guide?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Mr. Piper?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Just a heads up to the board, I will not be here on the 21st or the 28th. I'm going to be, I know. I'm going to be traveling, unfortunately, for work. But just a heads up on that.
You can come by Zoom.
It's going to be 1 a.m. where I am when those meetings
Okay.
start, so I won't be able to, unfortunately.
It's like me, on the last meeting that we had, I was in the plane,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So apologies in advance for that.
but it got canceled.
Before we close the hearing, is there any comments from the public? Or on Zoom? Okay, can I have a motion to, well, I guess we already continued it, so.
You good, Tom?
Thank you.
So on.
So we have a couple things of board business, acceptance of the meeting minutes from April 26th, which I was not in attendance for.
I don't even see him.
Motion to approve?
I haven't received a copy of those, I don't think.
Same here.
Excuse me?
Copy of the minutes from the last meeting?
I think there was
I
via
sent
email.
them out on Thursday.
I didn't get them in physically, but I did get them via email.
Yeah, Thursday I sent out a note that said, because all it was the minutes, which had actually already been sent once already.
Did get a copy of those.
Rather than waste postage, I just,
Oh, okay. Minutes from 5:19.
okay, obviously I need to send physical copies.
Okay. I actually missed that one as well. Which is
5:10, is it 5:10 minutes?
The ones at 426
420.
run about
426 and
14
510.
pages.
Yeah.
I made a motion to approve them. Where is that, Sam?
Second.
Jim, can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Moran?
Can I abstain?
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Lavoy?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Aye.
Mr. Guide?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Mr. Piper?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Actually, what's one abstention?
The abstention goes with the majority.
Okay.
And next on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes from May 10th, 2022. And that was the meeting.
Did you cancel that meeting?
No, we had to,
They had to meet to continue this, the public hearing.
Yep, so
That
I'll
was
make
the
a motion
only-
to approve.
Second.
This is Barbara, I'll second.
Okay. Barbara's got it.
Mr. Moran?
aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Lavoy?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Abstain?
Mr. Guide?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Mr. Piper?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Next on the agenda is the approval to pay the NPREA Manifest dated May 24th, 2022 for the amount of $987.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Lavoy?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Aye.
Mr. Guide?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Mr. Piper?
Aye.
And we have a second NPREA manifest to approve, also dated the 24th of May, 2022, for the amount of $3,477.13.
So moved.
So moved, this is Barbara.
Dan beat.
I'll second.
Beat you.
And the roll call, Jim?
Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Lavoy?
Aye.
Ms. Collier?
Aye.
Mr. Guide?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Mr. Piper?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
And we've already somewhat discussed this, that the selectmen are holding a public hearing on June 24th, I can't talk tonight, 21st, to decide on whether the applicant that was just in front of us, 125 Development New Hampshire Corp. of Plaistow, New Hampshire, is a requested use for an undeveloped town-owned right-of-way at the end of Howard Lane as a private emergency access to their four-building condominium site plan off South Main Street in Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as Tax Map 14, Block 1, Lot 27-3. They are requesting that we attend in an advisory capacity. So I am available. I can attend. I think Mr. Marchand is going to be there by default.
Well,
Dennis, I
didn't
have a
catch-
question. Do they have a time for that? Because usually the selectmen meet very early.
7 o'clock.
Oh, 7 PM, okay.
Thank you, Jim. So 7 o'clock.
I need to
Thank
know
you.
if there's going to be a quorum of the planning board present, because I will have to post it.
That's what I was going to ask, if we can have everybody check their schedules to make sure that we do have a quorum. Now, because I'll be sitting as a selectman,
Right.
My suggestion is that you post it.
Okay.
I will let the board know the selectmen reached out to see if I was available. I'm not that evening, but I have supplied them with some comments on the situation, just from a procedural standpoint.
Right.
You're gonna cancel the June 14th meeting.
Is there nothing on the agenda?
I wouldn't know. But we're doing a continuance, I guess, you know what I mean? Like,
Is there, Jim, at this point in time, do you think there's anything on the agenda for the 14th of June?
Yes,
There are other applications? in
there are
front of us?
two applications that came in.
Okay.
That if I had had time, I'd be handing out packets tonight.
no worries.
I didn't catch exactly what you said before this. I mean, I'll be here the 14th, the meeting on the 14th, but I was saying for the 21st, when we have our joint meeting, you can't count me as being part of the board at that point, because I'll be sitting on the selectman side.
We're going to publicly advertise that as a planning board meeting as well, in case there are enough planning board members to form a quorum.
Okay.
So I don't think we're concerned of not having a quorum. We're concerned of
Having a
us
quorum.
having a quorum there
And not posting
and
it.
not posting it.
I got you.
So that was, I believe, Barbara's suggestion, correct, Barbara? Just advertise it
Yes.
anyways.
Yep.
So the 14th,
Yes,
I'll be
just in
here.
case. That way we're covered.
Yep. So our next scheduled meeting is the 14th, and
Yep.
Jim just alluded that there's two applications in front of us
Good.
that are separate from, or at least I'm assuming separate from 125.
Right.
So as we wind into summer, we have the 14th, 21st, and 28th.
Right.
Perfect.
We'll get it all done before everybody goes away on vacations.
The administrative assistant has also requested that for applications of larger size, that the applicants are, or that we, is it a change of regulations or just policy to request that the app-
This is just giving me permission to look at them and go, no, that file is too big, they have to,
cut it up for you?
yes, rather than,
Putting it on you.
the town doesn't have the necessary software in order to do it. We don't have it in our budget. And the applicants, I mean, luckily, Ms. Rowden has divided it once, the chair divided it once. They just continually give me these thumb drives with a huge file when they give me a thumb drive. Or they try emailing it to me, and it will not come through. So I'd like the ability to call the engineer and go, yeah, the file you sent me is way too big. Please cut it in half or cut it in quarters, because otherwise I can't put it on the website. I can't.
You need a number.
Yeah, can you provide like no larger than 15 megabytes or 10, or do you know what your limit is? I thought it was 100 at one point, wasn't
I
it?
was just going to say, probably 50 meg if I'm looking for plan sets that I can put on the web. There's a limit on the size of what you can put on the web individually. If I give them a 50 cutoff and they send me something that's 60, the last one I told, it can't be over 99, and he kept sending me something that was 111. And I just, yeah.
So whatever the limit is, can you put like a safety factor on that, cut it down?
That's why I'm saying 50. That way, if they go, if it shows up and it goes a little. And the other thing is, they have to bring me a thumb drive.
Okay.
They can't say, well, I put it in a Dropbox, you download it, because,
Yeah, whether they mail it to you or whatever, you need a thumb drive.
yeah.
Sure. The forms that Barbara and who else helped put those together? I feel like maybe it was Mike. Can we revise those to put some direction on there, on limitations on file sizes on the actual
That would be
applications?
to your rules of procedure. And yes, you could do that. However, in the meantime, because one of the applicants is presently before us, that, I keep getting these huge things that I can't do anything with.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with you request. That's a very simple procedural change that they should be able to address.
What I will,
Mr.
what I
Chair?
will do,
This is Barbara. I think also, if we end up putting it on the application and when Mr. Doggett goes ahead and explains to them what he would like, I think that we should tell them to eliminate sending copies of the abutter list too, because we don't need to be distributing that, and that doesn't need to be up on the website.
I was just gonna say that was the other thing is I'd like permission to look at them. They're submitting an electronic copy that contains every document they have, including the one that we have now has 150 abutters. That gets all put on the website because I have no way of chopping it off without printing out a copy, scanning everything through.
Yep. Personally, I'm indifferent because I just deal with large PDFs all the time. So, but if that's your desire, I think it's rare that you're going to have that many abutters. This is probably the one project in town that you're going to have that. I guess my concern is not having a complete application posted. I'm just,
The abutters list,
I do understand it. It's unnecessary clutter for most people, but if an abutter, specifically what happened a couple months ago, when if they download the application and they were like, oh, there's 100 abutters and you missed 6, that way that information is available to them versus them coming here. That's my opinion, but I'm not sure if anybody else has a different opinion on that.
You want my opinion?
I tend to agree with you, Dennis, that I think that having it is not a problem. Having it as a separate file would be a preference when it's extensive. And I think you're covered with that with saying 50 megs or less.
yeah. If the board would like, I will go through the rules of procedure and find the appropriate place to insert that language.
Do you need a motion for that?
No.
Okay, good.
I just in case anybody hears from a developer that says, gee, Jim told me he wouldn't take exactly as I tried to present it. This will all be in the minutes, so I have something to fall back on. It's not my making the decision, it's the board.
I think if you're requesting like 50 megabytes, that's on a reasonable number. It's a common application size. Anything larger than that is large and abnormal for a site plan project.
The 111 megabyte one it became a pound your head against the wall because they then said, well, we cut it in half and we put the 2 halves in a Dropbox. And when I downloaded them from the Dropbox, one was 111 and the other one was 112.
Yeah, that file, because I personally tried to reduce the file size, was not the easiest thing to work with.
Right. And the other thing that I would like is if people would email me a contact telephone number, it doesn't go anywhere, it just goes in my drawer. But if something comes up and for some reason at like 5 o'clock on a Tuesday night, something happens, I think I can get a hold of Mr. Marchand. I know I can get a hold of Mr. Moran. I know I can get a hold of Ms. White.
You've got to have mine too.
Actually, I looked. I do not have your telephone number.
After all our years on budget committee together? Okay, I'll make sure you've got it.
If you'd send me an email with the telephone number that you'd prefer to be contacted at.
So if I'm clear, what you want to do is you want a 50 megabyte limit, you want a physical thumb drive, and you want a separate abutters list. So
I want to divide up the application so that
which is fine, but I think that you need to put the verbiage in the application and then we need to vote on it. I think it should be voted on. So if you want to put that verbiage
Okay,
in there.
I'll rework the application.
Right, and then
Yeah.
show it to us at the next meeting, and then we can vote on it there. I think that's the better way to go.
Okay.
That way, yeah, I would agree with that, just because there's less possibility of somebody saying that Jim made this up.
That's why it's going to be in the minutes, but until then, because I'm anticipating new paperwork from one applicant that,
I get it.
Okay.
you know,
So we'll cover you for now, and then we'll cover it more thoroughly with the
right,
vote.
because the way you change your rules of procedure is you read it at one meeting and you adopt it at the next.
Okay.
Kind of read it through this meeting, and we'll probably more than likely adopt it at the next, so I get it.
Well, I'll try to have everything for you for the 14th, and then you can adopt on the 28th.
Sure.
And then the last thing is that we're lacking alternate members for the board. So there's a request of putting a advertisement out to fill 2 seats.
Yeah, I'll drop, I did an ad for the ZBA, I'll do something similar for the planning board and put it out on the website. Actually, the ZBA did good, they got 3 people that showed interest.
I was gonna say, I would think we'd want 2 minimum, possibly at least 3 would be good.
How many?
There are 2 empty alternate seats at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
So with your permission, I'll do
Jim, who are the other alternates?
Ziggy?
Mr. Zelinski, Mr. Zott, and Ms. Allen.
And you publicly post that in the newspaper, or how else do we get that?
I'm going to put it on the website.
Okay.
That actually seems to be getting attention. There were 3 very good people that put their name forward for the ZBA.
Well, if we don't get traction, we always have Facebook.
There must be something in the water, because it seems as though a lot of people are starting to and trying to assert themselves in a lot of positions in the town, which is nice to see.
Are you volunteering for more positions?
I got my hands full now. I got the waters right up to here.
Better hope that's high tide.
Is there anything else to discuss?
Dennis, just real quick. I had a chance last week to meet with the master plan committee briefly to touch base on the land use chapter. I was wondering if at the next meeting, so June 14th, just to kind of fill folks in on where that is going, and talk about one of the aspects is having an event, really probably towards the end of the summer or early fall, just to touch base and get the whole board's input on that. We didn't get into a lot of depth at the master plan committee, but just to keep people abreast of what's going on.
Okay. An event, like a public event?
Like a public input event or
Okay.
survey or some combination in between.
Yeah.
Okay, I would,
Want to put that on when we do for the continuance with that?
I could probably cover it on June 14th, knowing what the 2 applications are.
and
I
Mark
think we may have.
be here for that meeting.
June 14th, I should be. Yeah, let me just
Okay.
double check.
Since you were involved in that
Yep.
quite a bit.
Yep.
And the other 2 meetings, the 21st and 28th, you're apparently in Europe somewhere based on the time.
Oh, the 28th he's off. All right. I thought it was the
21st and
14th.
28th I can't make,
I
but
thought
I
it
can
was
do
the
the 14th.
I thought it was the 14th and 21st. Okay. So we're gonna do it the 14th? That good for you, Jen?
That works for me. I don't think it will be a long discussion, but maybe
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes.
All right, cool.
That works. And there has been, just so the board knows, some comments on Facebook specific to the master plan survey I saw a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
aware.
okay.
I mean, if they go on the website, they can start to see the first 3 chapters that we've pulled together, but there are more to come, and we can, if it makes sense, Annie, maybe you and I can just chat. I just want to make sure that if I'm answering comments on Facebook, that I word it correctly.
I will say, just generally, I would strongly caution members from replying to any planning board business, even though it's just the master plan, on Facebook. That can get contentious quickly sometimes.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, responding to anything on a social media page spells disaster, no matter which way you cut
I
it.
think that happened recently.
Mr. Chairman, would
I
you like
actually
me to
think
send
the
out the
selectmen
rules for,
have a rule about that, don't they?
Yeah.
yes. Would you like me to send
Supposed
out
to.
the social media rules from the town?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
That way you're not chasing goals and they keep moving the goalposts.
Yes.
That's why I don't have anything on any social media, Barbara.
Okay, okay.
Good.
Awesome.
That it?
And I think that's it. So I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 7:45.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Night.